The iPhone 15 Pro Max is now 6 months old. It's been my primary driver since day one, and I'll even argue that this is peak iPhone. Now, the iPhone 16 on the other hand is set to release 6 months later from now, fall of 2024. So that leaves me, should you buy the iPhone 15 now or should you wait for the iPhone 16? I'm kind of surprised that Apple has yet to release a fresh new color. Usually we'll get like a spring color refresh, but this year, strangely enough, we haven't seen a new color in the time of this recorded. Gone away of the stainless steel frame found on the predecessor being the 14 Pro Max and on with titanium. The natural titanium colorway does a fantastic job mitigating those fingerprints on the glass back. It makes the phone look brand new every single time you take it out your pocket, and with the titanium finish, this is making it the lightest Pro iPhone ever that Apple has ever made. Well, we gotta wait until the iPhone 16 comes out, and I can't tell you how much of a big difference that is. If you happen to put on cases, usually it adds more weight. If you use a MagSafe wallet with your credit cards and put in cash and business cards, it's not gonna make your phone feel as heavy. Apple also smoothing out the edges and the corners, making it more easier to hold in your hand. It's still boxed off, but it's not as sharp as the predecessors. And also the bezels are stupid thin. I don't know how Apple is gonna make this even thinner on the iPhone 16, which is rumored that they are gonna make it thinner. Coming from an iPhone 14 Pro Max, it is something that I noticed right away setting up my iPhone, using it the first day. ProMotion, 120 Hz refresh rate, something that we've been seeing on the iPhone 13 Pro. Once you see 120 Hz ProMotion, it's hard to go back. Hopefully on the regular models, we'll get at least a 90 Hz refresh rate. Now the dynamic island isn't nothing new. It's been a thing since the iPhone 14 Pro, but it's good to see it on all of the iPhone 15 models, not just for the Pros. It's just nice to see more developers taking advantage of the dynamic island, and we have more people experiencing it. Is a great way to turn something that was somewhat obtrusive into something that's useful. But it would still be nice to get notifications within the dynamic island itself, but I guess we gotta wait until iOS 18, which is gonna be a big update according to the leaks and rumors. I'm looking around and I cannot find any scratches. If you look very closely, you'll see the smudges, but from a distance, you're not gonna see it as pronounced as the stainless steel. But let me tell you, there's times where I went caseless. This is probably the most caseless I ever been, but when I'm going out and I know I'm gonna be outside for a long period of time, I snap on a Nomad case, a Bataka case. Shout out to Everything Apple Pro. He sent me some of his Phone Rebel case. Shout out to the Phone Rebel cases. This video is not sponsored, but I throw a link in the description to show my appreciation. Going away of the mute switch and in replacement of the action button. Now, currently, I just have it set to the camera because I'm always taking pictures, whether it's B-roll, I'm at the gym, I'm always taking pictures, and it is nice to have a shortcut to the camera. But also we have 1,000,001 ways to access the camera anyway. But I've seen some very useful tips on how to fully utilize the action button. Shout out to Nicholas Molina. He made a video on how to make it extremely useful, where you can have different menus, so you can press and hold the action button and tap exactly what you want. But just to give a quick recap, if I go into the settings, action button, you could be able to customize that button to your liking. So you have silent mode, do not disturb, the camera, which you could be able to set the mode, and you also have your shortcuts, which is where the tips and tricks kind of come into play. So you can have it opening up an application such as like maybe Instagram, YouTube. And I think that's a perfect segue to talk about the cameras on the iPhone 15. And I gotta say, this is absolutely amazing. I don't even know how phone cameras can get this good. The fact how you can record in S-Log, ProRes, I mean, the same thing as my camera now that you guys are seeing can record S-Log. That is a big deal. And I'm gonna be honest, sometimes it is hard to tell the difference between an iPhone camera and a DSLR camera sometimes. Even just the regular mode is perfectly fine. And with the Pro Max model, you have that tetraprism, which it's a fancy way of saying you have more zoom. Very rarely I need to zoom in 15 times to get a shot. Now, I'll still say the ultra wide still needs some work. It is a little noisy. Sometimes I try to avoid using that. Of course, you have your cinematic mode, and Apple, please refresh the slow-mo, give us 4K at least. I don't know why Apple stopped updating slow-mo, and maybe do something cool with the time lapse. Maybe have a motion lapse or city lapse, something cool. We need something refreshing on the camera app. Now you do have Pro RAW, where it's gonna capture all of the data without any compression, and this is gonna be very handy for anyone who likes to edit in Lightroom, where you want as much information as you can without crushing some of the portions of the pictures. I rarely take any pictures in RAW mode unless it's like super serious. And yes, and I forgot to mention the megapixel count. We do have 48 megapixels here, 20,000 plus photos, bunch of apps. What's going on with my storage? In case you guys don't know, I picked up the 1 TB model of my iPhone, and I do not regret it one bit. Once you go 1 TB, you really don't even care about storage at that point. As you can see here, I'm using 653 gigabytes of storage on my iPhone. That is insane. Like, that is more than the 512 gigabyte model. I don't pay for iCloud storage. I'm not really a guy that likes to pay monthly, because it's just a never-ending cycle. But when you buy the 1 TB iPhone, you buy it one time and you're good. But now at some point, I do need to go back and delete some photos, and that's the same thing with iCloud too. At some point, you're gonna run out of space on your iCloud, and you will need to, delete some photos. Because let me tell you, those Pro RAW photos and those ProRes videos takes up a bunch of storage. It is blasphemous. It is ludicrous. I mean, the amount of storage that takes up with that ProRes S-Log, it is like, what? That is 10 gigabytes. That is 50 gigabytes for one clip. Oh, now of course you don't have to go overkill like me. 128 gigabytes should be perfectly fine, or even so, if you're going with the Pro Max, 256 is the sweet spot for most people. And I think this is a perfect segue to talk about USB Type-C, the ultimate elephant in the room. I never thought I'll see the day that we'll see an iPhone with Type-C, but there's times where I plug in a lightning cable to my iPhone 15 and I'm wondering, like, why is it not working? Oh, it's Type-C. But I would say it is more convenient, it's more versatile, because I could travel with just one cable, because my iPad takes Type-C, my MacBook is Type-C. So it was a great move on Apple's part.
The EU, I mean.
It still feels weird to this day, but it's the superior port. And I say that to say, all those videos and everything, it makes data transfer speed so much more faster. It's more faster than using AirDrop and using other accessories too as well, such as the X-Rail. You could be able to put those glasses on and not worry about any adapters. And with the Pro model, you have even faster data speeds, but I wish Apple would improve the charging speed. And fun fact, I use MagSafe charging at night, but when I'm in the car, I mostly plug it in. Or if I'm in a rush and I need to charge my phone real quick, then I plug it in. That alone is worth upgrading, coming from the iPhone 14. And even any iPhone that you go with, because Lightning is going to be obsolete at some point, so why not have something that's modern? Now, battery life on the iPhone 15 Pro Max has been about the same as the 14 Pro. Now, that's not a bad thing. I could be able to use my phone all day without worrying about a charge. But what makes the 15 Pro Max battery life so special, opposed to the 14 series, is the battery health. The battery health still remains at its maximum capacity at 100%. That is pretty impressive, because last year, if you watch my 14 Pro Max 6 months later review, the battery health was just draining to the point where I'm at 90% already of battery health, being that it's only 6 months since the phone release. But with the 15 Pro Max, I'm still staying at 100% battery capacity. And I think a reason for that is the charging optimization. Not only Apple made the battery bigger, they added this option exclusive to the 15 series called 80% limit. What this means is when you plug in your phone to charge, it's only going to charge up to 80%, which is going to maintain the battery health. Usually, if you have optimized battery charging, it's going to charge your phone all the way up to 100%, but it's going to dramatically slow down the charging speeds once it hits 80%. So now, once your phone hits 80%, you're good to go. Batteries on smartphones are very, very finicky. They don't like the heat. They don't like the cold. They don't like the moisture. They don't like being charged all the way up to 100% all the time. I think it's that 80% battery limit. There's times when I flip-flop around. If I know there's a long day ahead of me, then I would have that optimized battery charging. If you see my day in the life of both the 14 and the 15 Pro Max, you can see it's about the same battery life. This is still pretty good. It's all day battery life. The battery health at the end of the day is the most important thing, because the lower your battery health, the faster it's gonna die out, and also it could impact performance too. I think I covered everything. Like I said from the beginning, this is peak iPhone. I would even say this is a fantastic iPhone to buy. But wait, don't click off the video just yet. The iPhone 16, what's going on with it? What are some of the new features coming? According to Mac Rumors, the iPhone 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max will be getting a larger display. So 6.3 and 6.9 respectively. So currently on the 15 Pro Max is 6.7, and with the regular size 15 Pro is 6.1. So if you want the biggest iPhone screen, you may want to wait for the 16 Pro Max. Now also you get a new capture button, which is going to be underneath the side button, but there's rumors saying that it's going to be pressure and touch sensitive, so you can be able to do different gestures. You can use it to open up the camera app. You can do different gestures for switching the modes of the camera. The action button is going to be available on all iPhone 16 models. Currently, the action button is only exclusive to the 15 Pro and Pro Max. Staying on topic on the standard models, you're going to be getting a vertical layout to accommodate for the Apple Vision Pro recording. So it's going to be very reminiscent of the iPhone 10 or even the iPhone 11. And it goes without saying, the 16 is going to be faster, and that is basically all we know so far. And given all those rumors right now, it's still early. We could still get some juicy rumors. I would still buy the iPhone 15 Pro. I wouldn't even bust your brain too much about the 16 unless you really want the best iPhone, the largest iPhone, the fastest iPhone, then yes, wait. But for the average consumer, this is still a fantastic phone that I highly recommend.